Hi guys, today I'm going to be working on my jade plant here. I'm going to be pruning and propagating it. Both are fairly easy processes to accomplish, and so I thought I'd take you along and show you how I like to do it. So let me start by showing you my jade plant, and this is probably a couple years old. It's never been pruned before, so it is in desperate need of some pruning. Jade plants respond very well to pruning, and you can tell that it's starting to get a little leggy and lanky, so it definitely needs a little bit of TLC, and that's what we're going to do today. So, a couple things about jade plants. They are a succulent. They're in the succulent family. They're pretty simple, easy to take care of houseplants. Just give them the right conditions and they will be happy as a clam. So first and foremost, you want to start with a healthy plant, nice thick, plump green leaves and nice stems. Second, you want to use a cactus and succulent specific soil. They're a lot lighter and they drain a lot faster. Succulents don't like to sit in wet soil. They are very, very prone to root rot. So I always use Espoma's cactus mix. It's very light. It drains very quickly. It dries out. And my succulents and my plants have responded very well to it. And so that's what I use. Third is light, and jade plants, like most succulents, like a lot of bright indirect light. They are typically happy with about 4 to 6 hours of bright indirect light. If they haven't been acclimated to direct sun, I would recommend introducing them slowly to direct sun. Probably like start off with like an hour a day for a couple days and then just gradually increase it over the next like week or two until the plant has acclimated to being hit with like full-on sun. But they can do very well in lower light conditions for a little bit, but they will try to stretch and go towards the light. So if you have a brighter spot in your house, I would recommend putting them there. If not, you may want to get or invest in like a grow light because they do respond well to light. Fourth is watering, and watering is probably the first thing that will stress your plant out and eventually kill it. So jade plants, like most succulents, are very drought tolerant. They store most of their moisture and water in their leaves. So even if the soil dries out, they can use the moisture that's in their leaves to hydrate them. And eventually you can tell that they're going to need water because their leaves will start to pucker a little bit. You can also tell by just lifting the pot, and if it's feeling very light, you know it's time to water. So when you're watering them, you want to water them slowly and deeply, allowing for all of the soil from the top to the bottom to kind of get nice and saturated, and then let it all drain out so no water is sitting in the saucer, and then put it right back in its nice little sunny spot, and then just let it dry out again completely and then rewater it. What you don't want to do is you don't want to keep just watering it little by little and keeping that soil constantly moist and wet because they are very susceptible to root rot, and that's probably one of the main reasons why succulents tend to fail and die is overwatering and root rot. Fifth, we got to talk about pests. And these, like most houseplants, are susceptible to some pests. They are mostly susceptible to mealybugs. They look like tiny white little speckles of cotton or spider mites. If you find any of those on your plant, you want to just make sure you always kind of constantly are inspecting the leaves and the plants. You can use a little bit of alcohol, rubbing alcohol on a Q-tip and just kind of wipe them off and just keep an eye on them and just make sure that the infestation doesn't continue or get worse. You can use insecticidal soap if you need to, if the infestation is really bad. Other than that, they can be prone to powdery mildew too, so just keep an eye on that. And that's usually like a nice white funky film on there. So I would just kind of keep an eye out in general on all your houseplants and just kind of make it a general rule of thumb to kind of give them a once over every now and then and just make sure that nothing is attacking them. And lastly, there's pruning and propagating, and I'm putting them both together because that's what we're going to be doing today. So jade plants respond very well to pruning. In fact, it actually is very beneficial for them because it helps them create a more woody structured base, and it keeps the plant more rounded and size checked a little bit, but it gives it a nice full appearance. And as you can see here, I've got a lot of different branches coming out, but they're not very full. They're kind of starting to stretch. They're getting a little lanky. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is kind of just taking it down a little bit and kind of letting it sprout out some new branches and get a little bit fuller. And we're going to be using the cuttings to propagate new plants too. I want to show you guys a close-up look at this jade plant so you have a better understanding of its growth habit. So I've got 4 tree trunk-like stems at the base, and when a jade plant sends out a new stem, it starts out green in its infancy, but as it matures, it slowly starts to develop this like woody bark-like exterior, and over time, as it matures, it will end up looking like a tree trunk. And that's kind of what we want, because these will end up supporting the entire canopy of the tree. And as we prune, we'll end up with more stems, more leaves, a nice thicker, fuller canopy, and these trunk-like stems will be our support system. So in terms of tools for this project, it's fairly minimal. I've got my Felco pruners over here, which I am sanitizing as we speak with alcohol. There we go. Let's get this out of the way. I've got terracotta pots here for our cuttings. I've got a plastic saucer for our propagating dish and some cactus mix to repot everything that we cut. So first and foremost, before you make any cuts, you kind of just want to take a step back and look at the overall structure of your plant and check out the trunks at the base and kind of see if there's any offshoots that are kind of growing away, like sideways and up or towards the center. Those are the ones that you want to remove. Like for example, this stem right here is growing straight up, and then it branches off into 2 beautiful stems that continue to go straight up. But right over here, we've got a side branch that is literally growing out like this, and then it's starting to curve up and out and then back up again right here. And what's going to happen with this is eventually it's going to get heavier and bigger, and it will start to weigh down this whole section over here, and then you'll end up with a plant that's starting to lean. So I want to eliminate the weight at the base of this trunk right here by cutting this branch off. So I'm going to make one quick cut right in here, close to the base, just like that. I'm going to set this aside for a minute and then continue to make some more cuts. Now I'm just going to inspect again, and right over here I've got another branch that's shooting out sideways over here, and I kind of like the shape in which it's going in. I've also got this little new growth stem that's coming in right in the center here. So I don't want to remove this one entirely, but I do want to trim it back a little bit so it does end up branching out a little more. So I'm going to take this down to right about here, and I'm going to leave about 1/4 inch right above the 2 leaf nodes. Just like that. I'm going to set this down over here with the rest of our cuttings, and then this will callus over, and then we'll end up with 2 new branches shooting out this way. One will come out, one will go in towards the plant, and that'll start to fill in our rounded shape that I'm going for. So now I'm just going to continue looking at this plant and figuring out where I want to make my cuts. So this branch over here is the tallest, and I want to reduce it down to even with the rest of these. So I'm going to follow this stem down to, I think I want to go right at here, because I'm going to, no, change that. I'm going to take my cut down to here so I can end up with 2 new branches that are coming out this way. So I'm going to take my pruners and go about 1/4 to 1/2 inch above the leaf nodes and make a cut. And now you can kind of slowly see that it's starting to take on a shape. We're reducing the canopy down a little bit, and I am just going to continue on making my cuts. I'm going to come in over here and make a cut right here. And we're just going to continue on this thing. that's it for the pruning of this. And you can see I did take, oops. These are all of my cuttings that I removed, and it may look excessive too, but again, this is its first pruning and it desperately needed it because you can start to see the stems are, it's showing a lot more stem than it is foliage. So I kind of want to get this whole area right here nice and full with green plump leaves, and that way you can just see like the woody stems peeking out through the bottom. And then eventually over time through the years, as we continue to prune and prune and prune, we'll end up with a bigger canopy, a stronger support system, and it eventually will turn into a tree-like shrub. And they are beautiful as they age. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what this will do. I will let this settle down in the grow room for a day, and then I'll probably put it under the grow lights for a little while and then move it back downstairs to a south-facing window where it's been for most of its life. And then I'll just update you guys, you know, every few months I'll kind of show you how it's doing and any new growth that it's put on, but it does take a little bit of time. All right, so now I'm going to set this aside, and now we're going to work on propagating. So I have got a few little terracotta pots here. Let me get rid of this. And I have a big terracotta pot, a bigger terracotta pot for this one because it's the largest. This was the side shoot, the side stem that I removed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove a few of the leaves from the bottom. And just like we did in the succulent video that I did last week, I just want to slowly just rock these back and forth until they kind of loosen from each other. Loosen from the stem, I should say. And you want to kind of hopefully get as close to the stem as possible because that will help in propagating. And now I'm just going to set these leaves aside and just continue removing them. And I think I just want to get like a good 3 or 4 inches. So when I go to pot it, it's anchored pretty well. And I'm probably going to have to cut right over here because it is leaning a little too much. So if I cut this portion right here, I can kind of plant it and get it to go straight in. But I do want to show you right over here, it's already starting to sprout some new roots. So hopefully this stem should root in fairly quickly. Let me make my cut. I'm going to make it just below this node. Right there. I'm going to remove this one bottom leaf right here. And then I'm going to plant it in just like that. Now, because my soil is fairly dry right now, I am confident in just putting it directly into soil and letting it callus over in the soil for about a week before I water it in. But typically, if you have moisture in your soil, any cuttings and leaves that you want to propagate, you want to make your cuts, get them ready, and then let them sit out for a couple days so all of the cut ends will callus over, and that way moisture won't go in there and they won't potentially rot. So you kind of just want to give them a couple days to heal over everywhere you've made cuts or remove stems, and then you can go in and pot them up. But again, because my soil is pretty bone dry, I am going to let them callus over in the soil for a week, and then I'll go in and water them. All right, so now I'm just going to kind of work on the rest of these. The same as I did with this stem, and I'm just going to remove a couple of the bottom leaves. Oh, these are really attached on. There we go. Couple more. There we go. Okay, and now I'm just going to pot this up. Okay, so let me show you. These are the leaves that I'm going to be propagating. This is my discard pile. These were more of the older leaves from the bottom. You can see that they've kind of like puckered and aged, so they're not going to make very good propagation leaves. And then right over here, we've got all of our stem cuttings. You can see right over here where I've taken a couple of the leaves off, and this is the end over here, and this is what I want to show you close up. We've already got some roots coming out of this, so this should root fairly quickly, I'm hoping. So from pruning our jade plant, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stem cuttings that are going to become new plants, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 leaves that are eventually going to become new plants too. So from just that one prune job, we're going to have a whole truckload of new plants. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill these tiny little terracotta pots with the cactus mix, and then I'm just going to take the smaller stems and just push them into the soil, backfill them, and then just let them sit here for a few days until the cut side callus is over, and then I'll come in and then give them a nice little drink of water. And for the bigger stem over here, I've got a 3-inch terracotta pot, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to probably plant this one a little bit at an angle, so the soil will probably come up to like right here. That way it'll be dead center and start to grow straight out, instead of just planting it this way, and then it'll just start growing to the left or in this direction. I kind of want it to start growing from the center, nice and straight. So I'll pot up the first one for you, and then we'll just kind of whip through the rest of them. So I'm going to start with my cactus mix. And I'm only going to need probably just a couple tablespoons for this little thing. Pack it down a little bit. Oh, I need a little more. And I'm going to leave about a 1/2-inch lip from the top of the pot down to the soil line, a 1/2-inch lip. And then for these little cuttings, I'm just going to make a nice tiny little well and just kind of push them down in there. And just pinch it a little bit so it stays. And that's it. For the ones with longer stems, I'm going to use a wooden skewer to make my hole because it's going to go in a lot easier. Just like that. Insert it in and just backfill. And here's the result of our project today. Look at all of these. So here is our jade plant that we pruned back. You can see where I've made my tops. You can see where I've made my cuts all along the top and where we're gonna have new stems branch out. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this whole thing takes shape. Right over here, this is actually a cutting from this plant when I repotted it. I just brought it up here to show you guys how it's doing. It's looking really good. And it's been in here for probably about a month now, and it's doing really well. Over here, these are all of our stem cuttings from our plant. And look at that. We have so many new plants coming in. I used these really teeny tiny terracotta pots for the tippy tops. And I'm so blown away. I was not expecting that many. And then here are our leaves that we're propagating. So for these, all I did was fill this dish with cactus soil mix, and then I just took each leaf and just kind of rested the cut end right into the soil a little bit. And then I'm just going to let them sit here like I'm going to do for all of these stem cuttings as well. I'm going to let everything sit here for about a week and let everything callus over in the soil, and then I'll come in and I'll give all of these stem cuttings a nice drink of water, and I'll take my little mister and just mist the soil around here just to kind of keep it a little bit damp. And I'll put all of these under the grow lights over here somewhere, probably the bottom shelf right there. I am so happy with how this project turned out. I'm really looking forward to watching this kind of grow and fill in and just get a nice full canopy with all of these leaves and cuttings that we're propagating. I most likely will repot them as they start to root in and give them away to family and friends as gifts. I'll probably keep a few for myself and just kind of dot them around the house here and there, but most of them will end up in new homes because we've got a lot going on here. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. Definitely, if you give propagating a try, leave me a comment in the comment section. Let me know how it's going for you. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.